Satan felt at home there.
In the 1st century, it was the place where Satan dwells. In the 20th, it inspired Adolf Hitler. From the first burnt sacrifice
Believers were killed for this.
to the final solution.
Jewish people in Germany were subjects of the Reich, but not citizens.
Discover the mystery of the Pergamon altar on today's 700 Club. Welcome to the 700 Club. People often complain about what the government is doing or not doing. Well, a few years ago in the state of Maine, they decided to do more than just complain. They got involved.
And that action has led to amazing changes in the state government. Mark Martin has the story from Augusta, Maine.
The state flag of Maine is a deep blue, reflecting the politics that have dominated the state for decades. However, the winds of change are blowing here. Voters in Maine have painted their state red. In fact, for the first time in more than 40 years, Republicans control the House, Senate, and governorship.
People were tired of the status quo. They were tired of having a very liberal agenda pushed on them. And the people spoke. State Representative Ellie Espling is a member of the freshman class of Republicans in the Maine legislature. She and fellow evangelical Christian Pastor Bob Emmerich, who serves as the chairman of the board of the Christian Civic League of Maine, say the turning point was in 2009. That's when voters in Maine said no to homosexual marriage after the state legislature legalized it. Outraged citizens got together to put the issue on the ballot, and voters overturned the legislature, making marriage only between one man and one woman again. But many in Maine felt it wasn't enough.
That carried over into, okay, now that vote's over, but how do we keep this from happening again? We need to have more people, different kind of people in the legislature. Emmerich and Espling say conservatives and Christians in Maine have been emboldened to get involved in politics. Espling is a pastor's wife. She and her husband homeschool their 4 children. She believes God called her to run for public office.
We did go through those doors, and it's been amazing. I was one of the top fundraisers in the state for House races. Another sign of a greater evangelical Christian presence in Maine politics is the prayer caucus here at the State House in Augusta. Lawmakers say the number of legislators praying on a regular basis has quadrupled recently. People standing up on the floor of the House talking about Jesus and seeing lots of colleagues leave, that's different, and I don't think they're used to that, and so that's exciting, yeah. Veteran Democratic state lawmaker Donald Pylon says he has seen more representatives being open about their faith.
That's who the people voted in, and it's, I think that we'll see if they have the ability to make a change for the state of Maine.
The 2011 legislative session produced results this state is not used to seeing. Republicans and Democrats passed a $6 billion budget that Republicans say contains the largest tax cut in Maine's history. But several pro-life bills did not pass, although Espling believes that can change if more social conservatives get elected. If we get more Christians involved and more Christians elected, that's even more pressure on our colleagues to say, you can vote your conscience. Emmerich believes the voice of evangelical Christians and Catholics will be even stronger after the next election cycle. Unity is important for social conservatives in Maine. Homosexual marriage advocates say they hope to put marriage on the ballot again in 2012. Mark Martin, CBN News, Augusta, Maine.
I hope that encourages you that things can change if you just get involved. And part of being involved is not just involved in terms of voting and registered to vote, but are you involved at the local party level? Are you attending those meetings? Are you participating in who gets nominated and who runs for office? That's where a lot of very important decisions are made. Lee Webb has the rest of our top stories from the CBN Newsroom. Lee?
Gordon, the brutal heat wave has tightened its grip on the country. Warnings and advisories were issued from Ohio to Maine. 1 million square miles of the nation reaching temperatures at or near triple digits. The heat is already blamed for nearly 24 deaths around the country, and emergency room visits are way up.
People with heat exhaustion are coming in feeling weak, tired, nauseated, some with vomiting. People with heat stroke are coming with elevated temperatures and alterations in mental status, either lethargy or coma.
Many cities have opened cooling centers to help prevent heat-related illness. Al-Qaeda may be targeting thousands of critical facilities in this country, places like chemical plants, oil refineries, and nuclear power plants. Homeland Security has issued a report that says violent extremists have obtained access to those facilities by getting jobs there.
There are a lot of very sensitive facilities where someone can get a job on the inside, can get access to a control room, flip a switch, which causes an electric power grid to short circuit, causes a pipeline to explode.
If someone were determined and had the right access, the amount of damage that they could inflict could affect thousands of lives.
U.S. intelligence officials say documents found in Osama bin Laden's compound show he was plotting another major attack here in the U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta is ending the 17-year ban on gays serving openly in the military. This is one of the final official steps in repealing the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy. President Obama repealed that ban last December, but before it could go into effect, the Pentagon and U.S. military chiefs had to confirm that the new law would not affect military readiness. Europe has given Greece a second economic bailout. Greece got itself into trouble after years of overspending. Now it promises to cut its budget deeply in the years ahead. Protesters, though, have taken to the streets against those budget cuts, but Greece has passed a 5-year plan that reduces spending and privatizes many government operations. President Obama and the House Republican leaders are reportedly working toward a possible deal in debt negotiations here. Still, both sides downplayed talk that any agreement has been reached. The plan would include promises of spending cuts and a major overhaul in the tax code. That would lead to more money coming into Washington to help cut the deficit.
I think we now are seeing the potential for a bipartisan consensus.
And details of any plan for spending cuts and tax reform would be worked out in the months ahead. And that sounds like maybe they might be attempting to punt the ball down the field again, Gordon.
I think they are punting and kicking the can. We don't want to see a debt default in the United States. If we default on payments on the Treasury bills or payments to any of the entitlement programs, that's not good for anybody. But I wish they could come together and say, how do we change the entitlement programs so they're not breaking the bank? How do we change spending habits in Washington? When you start looking at $1.5 trillion as a deficit on a yearly basis, the numbers are absolutely mind-boggling that it takes you thousands of years to pay off that kind of money. And how do we start reining in spending, changing the requirements for entitlement programs where you look at it and say, well, when these programs were invented, the life expectancy of Americans was much shorter, and we've got to adjust with the times and extend those ages. And I hope they can come to agreement, but if they can't, a non-default's a good thing. Terry and I will be back with more of the 700 Club. We're going to take you to the seat of Satan. You don't want to miss it.
Still ahead.
There was a huge sign which said, "Death is not permitted here."
A visit to one of the first hospitals in history.
If a snake slithered across you while you were sleeping at night, that was a divine sign that healing power was coming to you.
If you're one of the millions of Americans without dental insurance, ask yourself these 3 important questions. 1, does your company not offer dental insurance? 2, are you self-employed? 3, are you retired? If you answered yes to any of these, it's important that you call Encore Dental today. Encore Dental is real insurance, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You'll receive up to 100% coverage for preventive care and up to 50% on basic and major procedures. Encore Dental can help keep your teeth healthy, which may prevent infections that lead to heart disease and stroke. And with the high cost of procedures, it makes sense to have great coverage. Choose your level of benefits. There are no claim forms to fill out and no waiting for reimbursement. So go ahead, review it for 30 days.
Call 1-800-671-6148. Call now and save an additional 10%.
Call now and save an additional 10%.
Monday. He's the mind behind The Untouchables and Wag the Dog. Playwright David Mamet shares a page from his latest script. Plus,
he turned blue from the minute they cut the cord.
A newborn in a fight for his life.
Well, there was nothing they could do for him.
Becomes a medical miracle.
Even the doctors were shocked.
Next week on The 700 Club.
For years, advertisers have focused on younger adults, those aged 18 to 49. Now, baby boomers are considered the most powerful consumers in the marketplace. Charlene Israel shows us why the tables have turned in favor of the older generation.
Linda Salzman loves being a grandmother, but she quickly points out that doesn't mean she's over the hill.
I've always believed that age is just that. It's a number. My age, I'm 56, but it doesn't dictate my life to me.
She loves to travel and have fun without playing the traditional part of grandma.
Tell you the truth, I get a lot of things from the junior department because it fits me. And I've tried to look, I really have. I've tried to look in more my age group, and it just doesn't work for me.
That seems to be the overall attitude of baby boomers, the generation following World War II. At 77 million strong, 3/4 of baby boomers consider themselves middle-aged or younger.
When I was 25, I thought 50-something was old. Now that I'm 56, 80 doesn't even sound old.
Author Matt Thornhill writes about that attitude and much more in his book, Boomer Consumer. Valuable insights into the hearts, minds, and wallets of today's baby boomers.
They're doing things at age 60 that no one's ever done before. My favorite example is that in 2009, at age 60, Bruce Springsteen did 79 live tour events, and he earned more revenue in his concert tour than did Coldplay and the Jonas Brothers combined that same year.
Thornhill says this phenomenon caught the ad industry by surprise.
It's truly amazing that marketers who are supposed to be on top of consumer behavior and understand how to motivate consumers to buy things have missed this.
He points out the target has always been those from age 18 to 49.
If you were 50, most marketers treated you as if you were either invisible, dead, or just an old person, a senior citizen. I'm 51 myself, and it's like, wait a second, I'm still a consumer. I still buy things. I'm not just in the market for a Cadillac or Depends.
Americans over the age of 65 will increase from 40 million in 2010 to more than 70 million in 2020. That could translate into huge profits for some companies.
They spend $3.5 trillion annually on goods and services. People under 45, about $2.3 trillion. Why would you not be marketing to the ones that spend at least $1.2 trillion more than the younger folks?
Every time you get hungry, you turn into a diva. Just eat it so we can all coexist.
Turn into a diva.
Put it in your system.
Retirees spend almost 4 hours per weekday in front of the TV, a full 75 minutes more screen time each day than the population as a whole. Boomers also consume more mass media than younger consumers.
Not only do they watch TV, they read magazines, they read these things called newspapers, which no one under 40 reads. They drive around in cars, listen to the radio, they see billboards, they're on the internet.
They're the fastest growing groups on social media.
Author David Weigelt says boomers are more tech savvy than ever.
80% of boomers are now using some form of a smartphone, and we just think that's going to be huge in terms of how marketers can reach and engage these consumers.
I have everything I have an iPhone, I have an iPad, and I have an iPod. And the reason for that is I love it. I love gadgets. But also it helps me and my grandchildren to stay connected.
When it comes to energy drinks, youth and younger consumers tend to come to mind. But some makers of these products are now including older consumers in their marketing plans.
I went to AARP's convention this past year down in Orlando, and I actually took my grandmother with me. And as we were walking up and down the aisles, I was watching her, take in these new computers that are being built for boomers and seniors and so forth. And you know what she was struck by most were these energy drinks. So the energy drinks, which we think are for the young, are actually now targeting boomers and seniors as well.
Thornhill says if companies are smart, they will follow suit.
If you want to grow your company, if you want to sell more candy bars, if you want to sell more cars, if you want to sell more anything, you have to figure out how do I include 50 plus in my marketing. If I don't, I'm going to lose out. I'm going to shrink my business and not grow my business.
Better? Charlene Israel, CBN News.
Boomers are now seniors. Boy, that doesn't make me feel young. The reason why advertisers for decades targeted the 18 to 49 is they had it in their heads that we identify with specific brands, and the time to get that branding, if you will, for a product is in that age group. By the time you're 50, you're less likely to drive a different kind of car, or eat different kinds of food, or wear different kinds of clothes. But now they're finding all of that research is wrong because we all seem to be changing more than ever and adapting more than ever, and I think it's a good thing. Do you feel catered to now?
Very. And not in a good way. But we'll be right back with more of the 700 Club. Stay with us.
Up next.
It was one of the darkest, eeriest cities in the whole Roman Empire.
The horrors of human sacrifice.
They would take the victim, place him inside the bull, then light a huge fire under the bull. And as the fire heated the bronze, the person inside the bull would slowly begin to roast to death.
The city known as the seat of Satan, next.
My name is Roger Stump, and I'm a cancer survivor. The surgeon said it's inoperable. It's already in your liver. My wife Brenda sat there and cried, and I'm thinking, I can't die right now. I'm only 52 years old. I was so distraught. I've heard Cancer Treatment Centers of America had experience with pancreatic cancers. It was like night and day. The hospital just breeds an environment of hope. You'd get a CT scan, and the next morning, the results were read to you. We'd go up there, I just knew it was going to be a good result. You could just see the joy on Dr. Granick's face.
Call now and we'll show you how the most compassionate people anywhere put you at the center of everything we do. Together, we'll explore real treatment options you may not even know exist.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is such a different place because they give you hope. I would strongly urge you to call them and get a second opinion.
Please call today.
In the book of Revelation, Jesus told the Apostle John to write letters to 7 churches in Asia Minor. One of them was the church in Pergamum. Jesus called this city the place where Satan dwells. And recently, I went to the ruins of Pergamum to find out how the city earned its reputation as the seat of Satan.
I, John, was on the island that is called Patmos. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a loud voice. To the angel of the church in Pergamum write, I know your works, and where you dwell, where Satan's throne is. And you hold fast to my name, and did not deny my faith, even in the days in which Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was killed among you, where Satan dwells.
Today, all that's left of Pergamum are ruins. But when the Apostle John wrote his letter to the church there, it was one of the most influential cities in the Roman Empire.
Pergamum had a unique status that was different than any other city because it was the political center. And it was from there that all of the rulings were made which affected the whole of Asia Minor.
The city's Acropolis rivaled Athens, and its library was the second largest in the ancient world, with a collection so great that the Roman general Mark Antony presented it as a wedding gift to Cleopatra. At the end of the first century, Pergamon was a thriving city. So why does the book of Revelation call it the dwelling place of Satan? The answer lies in the ruins of the city's temples.
On one side, it was a very beautiful city. But on the flip side, it was one of the darkest, eeriest cities in the whole Roman Empire.
The people of Pergamon were known as the Temple Keepers of Asia. The city had 3 temples dedicated to the worship of the Roman emperor, another for the goddess Athena, and the great altar of Zeus, the king of the Greek gods. Many scholars believe this altar is the throne of Satan mentioned in the book of Revelation.
That word throne was first used to describe a chair that was used in a personal private residence. And it was the chair for the Lord of the house, the master of the house. The very fact that Jesus would use that word in this verse means Satan felt at home there. He sat on a throne there. It was his territory. He was the master of that house.
The city also had a healing center called the Asclepion. It was built in honor of the Greek serpent god Asclepios. In the first century, this was a cross between a hospital and a health spa, where patients could get everything from mud baths to major surgery. Even the emperors came all the way from Rome to be treated here. But this was no ordinary doctor's visit.
If you were a terminal patient, then you were not allowed to go into the Asclepion. And these Asclepian priests didn't want anyone hearing somebody had died in the Asclepion. And in fact, there was a huge sign just above the official entrance to the Asclepion which said, "Death is not permitted here." So the only way you were going to get in to begin with is if they knew you were going to live.
Patients entered through this underground tunnel. Then they drank a sedative and slept here in the dormitories, while non-poisonous snakes crawled around them all night. They were told that the serpent god Asclepios would speak to them in their dreams and give them a diagnosis.
It was believed that the snakes actually carried the healing power of Asclepios. And if a snake slithered across you while you were sleeping at night, that was a divine sign that healing power was coming to you.
The next morning, the patients told their dreams to the priests, who prescribed their treatments. Finally, the patients made clay sculptures of the body parts that needed healing and offered them to Asclepios. The people of Pergamon worshipped a myriad of Greek and Roman gods, but when Christianity arrived with the belief in just one God, the city's pagan priests went on the attack, and their most famous victim was a man named Antipas. In the book of Revelation, Jesus called Antipas my faithful martyr. He was the bishop of Pergamum, ordained by the Apostle John, and his faith got the attention of the priests of Asclepius, who complained to the Roman governor in Pergamum. The priests testified that demons appeared to them in their dreams and told them that the prayers of Antipas were driving them out of the city.
He had cast out so many devils that the demons, the spirits, had been complaining to pagans, "You've got to do something about this Antipas."
Antipas was ordered to offer a sacrifice of wine and incense to a statue of the Roman emperor and declare that the emperor was Lord and God. He refused.
If you reject the divinity of the emperor, it's the equivalent of rejecting the city of Rome. And believers were killed for this.
Antipas was sentenced to death on the altar of Zeus. Most of that altar survives today, and surrounding it are some of the world's most famous marble friezes. They portray the battle between the Greek gods and the giants. At the top of the altar was a hollow bronze bull, designed for human sacrifice.
They would take the victim, place him inside the bull. They would tie him in such a way that his head would go into the head of the bull. then light a huge fire under the bull. And as the fire heated the bronze, the person inside the bull would slowly begin to roast to death. And as the victim would begin to moan and would begin to cry out in pain, his cries would go through all of the pipes which were in the head of the bull, so it seemed to make the bull come alive.
Even in the midst of the flames, Antipas died praying for his church. A few years later, the Apostle John wrote the book of Revelation, mentioning the death of Antipas on this very spot. Here in Pergamon, all that's left is the foundation. Today, the altar of Zeus is more than 1,000 miles away. In the 19th century, German engineers dismantled the altar and took it to Berlin. The so-called throne of Satan went on display in the city's Pergamon Museum in 1930, just in time to inspire one of the most brutal dictators the world has ever seen. Still ahead.
There is such a thing as evil, in my judgment, and this man is evil.
From ancient Pergamon to modern Germany, the seat of Satan, redesigned by the Nazis.
Speer gives all the credit to Hitler. There were drawings of all these things that were given to Speer by Hitler.
Next, on the 700 Club.
This is the information retailers don't want you to know, especially now. They don't want you to learn just how much money you've been giving away to retail markups on items you purchase for your home. All because you don't know how to buy like the insiders do at Direct Buy Club, the home improvement and furnishings club with direct insider prices.
When you go to Direct Buy, you know that things are going to be a lot less than retail, and you don't have to worry about sales. It's just, you know, one price, and it's a low price too.
I would shop around and investigate, and without a shadow of a doubt, Direct Buy would have the lowest price.
Members buy top quality name brand merchandise from hundreds and hundreds of trusted manufacturers. So call the number on your screen now and we'll rush you your free visitor's pass to your local Direct Buy Club and your certificate for a free 30-day membership. This is a limited offer, so call now.
Monday. He's the mind behind The Untouchables and Wag the Dog. Playwright David Mamet shares a page from his latest script. Plus,
he turned blue from the minute they cut the cord.
A newborn in a fight for his life.
Well, there was nothing they could do for him.
Becomes a medical miracle.
Even the doctors were shocked.
Next week on the 700 Club. In 1934, Adolf Hitler appointed Albert Speer as the chief architect of the Nazi Party. One of Speer's first assignments was to design the parade grounds for Hitler's rallies in Nuremberg. Speer based his design on a 2,000-year-old pagan altar from the ancient city of Pergamon, a place known in the book of Revelation as the seat of Satan. Ancient Pergamon, the center of pagan worship in Asia Minor, once known as the place where Satan dwells. In the 1st century, it was a thriving city. But after countless wars and natural disasters, the temples of Pergamon lay in ruins. By the mid-19th century, the once great city of Pergamon was barely a memory. The locals were using the site as a quarry, looting the marble for new buildings. Until 1864, when a German engineer paid a visit. Karl Humann was shocked by the destruction of the priceless artifacts, so he got permission to excavate the ancient city himself. And what he found was one of the greatest monuments in history, the altar of Zeus. Stone by stone, the altar was excavated and brought here to Berlin, and then it was reassembled and placed in its own museum. The Pergamon Museum was finished in 1930, with the altar as its centerpiece. Eventually, it caught the eye of a young man named Albert Speer. The the new chief architect for the Nazi Party. Adolf Hitler had commissioned him to design the parade grounds for the party rallies in Nuremberg. And for inspiration, Speer turned to the Pergamon altar.
Speer gives all the credit to Hitler. I think that he's like a good interior decorator that someone hires, and that client already has the ideas of what he wants to do, and the decorator agrees with him and just fulfills them. So that's what Speer did.
Using the altar as his model, Speer created a colossal grandstand at the rally grounds. It became known as the Zeppelin Tribune. After the war, only a small part of it was left standing. In the middle of the grandstand, where the altar to Zeus stood in ancient Pergamon, Albert Speer built Hitler's podium. Hitler wanted to create what he called a mass experience, and Speer came up with the perfect idea. Most of the Nuremberg rallies were held at night, so Speer surrounded the grandstand with 150 searchlights. The columns of light extended for miles in the sky, creating the mystical effect Hitler wanted. The concluding meeting in Nuremberg must be exactly as solemnly and ceremonially performed as a service of the Catholic Church. This effect was known as the Cathedral of Light, and it became a hallmark of Hitler's events. It was even used in the closing ceremonies of the 1936 Olympics in Berlin.
Hitler is very much aware of German mythology, and anytime you look at mythology and gods, you're looking skyward. So I don't think it's an accident that he says to Speer, let's create an environment of looking towards the heavens. And that's what it does.
Inside the rally grounds, thousands of Nazi Party members marched in torchlight parades.
These events happen at night, which gives a contrasting effect of fear, of strength, of the unknown, of mystery, and that's all intended by him. He's very theatrical. Torchlight fire has always been part of even pre-Christian beliefs. So I think there's a kind of a quasi-mystical, semi-religious content to these torch parades. There's many of them in Nazi Germany.
From his podium, Hitler mesmerized the crowds. Not every one of you sees me, and I do not see every one of you, but I feel you, and you feel me. Then, under the Cathedral of Light, thousands of Germans swore what they called a holy oath. Blazing flames hold us together into eternity. No one shall take this faith from those who are dedicated to Germany. From 1933 to 1938, hundreds of thousands of people gathered here every September for the Nazi Party Congress. But it was the 1934 Congress that captured the attention of the world, thanks to what may be the greatest propaganda film of all time.
The 1934 party film is the consummate picture of Hitler. That's it. No other film was ever made of him. And he didn't want any other film made of him. Everything that he wanted people to know about the Nazis is in that film. It was shown continuously for 12 years in Germany.
Triumph of the Will was directed by a young German actress named Leni Riefenstahl.
She was a famous movie star. I would characterize her sort of as a female Indiana Jones. And she was pretty and shapely and popular. Romantic films, escapist. Hitler's a bit of a romantic. And so he liked her.
The film portrayed Hitler as a godlike figure, the savior of the German people.
Hitler's entrance in the film is from the sky, as a Messiah would be descending down through the heavens, through the clouds, to the faithful waiting for him below. And anytime he appears, any people that are anywhere near up close to him have these starry-eyed looks in their eyes, glazed looks almost, as if they're in the presence of an unearthly being. That's intentional.
In his speeches, Hitler often borrowed Christian phrases, like in this scene with the Hitler Youth.
After they sing their song devoted to him, Hail Hitler to Thee, which is almost like a religious chant, he goes into his speech and he says things like, "You are flesh of our flesh and blood of our blood." Well, he borrows that from the Roman Catholic ritual with which he's very familiar. It's a very physical statement, and it resonates with that crowd.
Hitler's popularity skyrocketed after the release of Triumph of the Will. The next year, more than 1 million Germans came to Nuremberg to hear his speech. On the evening of September 15, 1935, Hitler announced the Nuremberg Laws, laws that took away German citizenship from Jews.
The law for the protection of German blood and German honor is intended to begin the marginalization process of the Jewish people. Hitler had a lot of popular support for much of his time in office. One doesn't get popular support by saying to the public, we're going to put Jewish people in gas chambers and then incinerate them. You don't do that. What he did was gradually marginalize them.
It was also here that Hitler used the phrase final solution for the first time in public. Bitter complaints have come in from countless places citing the provocative behavior of Jews. This law is an attempt to find a legislative solution. If this attempt fails, it will be necessary to transfer the Jewish problem to the National Socialist Party for a final solution. The Nuremberg Laws stripped the Jews of their rights as citizens.
They couldn't teach in public universities. They couldn't practice medicine in public hospitals. They couldn't fly the national flag. Then that was coupled with the Reich Citizenship Law, which said that Jewish people in Germany were subjects of the Reich, but not citizens.
Hitler's final solution is now known as the Holocaust, from the Greek word that means a holy burnt animal sacrifice. In AD 92, the faithful martyr Antipas died, a holy burnt sacrifice on the altar of Zeus in Pergamon, the place the book of Revelation calls the throne of Satan. Centuries later in Nuremberg, in the center of a redesigned Pergamon altar, the bronze bull was replaced by a podium. From there, Adolf Hitler announced his final solution to the world, and this time, the burnt sacrifice was 6 million Jews. After the war was over, Albert Speer said, "It's hard to recognize the devil when he has his hand on your shoulder." What are the signs of the Antichrist? What are the evidences that someone has this spirit, the spirit of Antichrist? Well, let's look first to 1 John chapter 2, verse 18. Little children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming, even now many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour. When you look at this verse in 1 John, you start understanding there isn't just one Antichrist, there are many. There is a major one to come, but there have been many in history who have set themselves up as against Jesus, against the Messiah, against the Holy One of Israel. And here's how they do it. You find it also in 1 John. This is chapter 4, verse 3. Every spirit that does not confess that Jesus Christ has come in the flesh is not of God. And this is the spirit of Antichrist, which you have heard was coming and is now already in the world. So as John's telling us, this is already here, and it's been here for thousands of years. And how do you recognize when someone has this spirit, someone who acts as one of the many Antichrists? Well, here's a clue, and this is directly from Jesus, and he's prophesying about the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. And it's interesting, his disciples come to him and say, well, when will these things be? And what is the sign of your coming and the end of the age? And so there's a three-part question here. Jesus in Matthew chapter 24 answers all three questions,
but specifically adds in a unique phrase that comes from the book of Daniel. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. And some marginal notes say, this is the Antichrist. Let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Now, this specific prophecy of Daniel, some claim, was fulfilled already before Jesus was even born. Antiochus Epiphanes came, and he slaughtered Jews. About 80,000 were killed. And in the Holy of Holies, in the temple, he set up a statue of Zeus. And there he offered sacrifice. And he sacrificed a pig in the Holy of Holies. The abomination of desolation in the Holy of Holies. And he offered a pig there. 80,000 Jews died. It was illegal to be Jewish. It was illegal to circumcise. It was illegal to observe the Sabbath. It was illegal to offer sacrifices. And all of this had happened before Jesus was even born. So he's prophesying yet another abomination of desolation from the book of Daniel that would come. His name was Titus. And it happened within a generation of the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. It happened in AD 70. And Titus came and he looted the temple. Behind me, you can see the Arch of Titus, which still stands in the city of Rome. And you see the golden menorah that had been taken. You see the silver trumpets, articles from the temple that were taken as trophies back to the city of Rome by the then-to-be Emperor Titus. And he set them up in a special temple and offered sacrifice to them there. Now, what did Titus do? He absolutely destroyed Jerusalem. He tricked the Jews and said, if you want to celebrate Passover, you can go into the city. And then when the city was filled, he then shut the gates and he literally starved them to death. From roughly April to August in AD 70, 1.1 million Jews were killed. And after he took the city, the reports are that he then set up a statue of himself. And a Roman legion came in and offered sacrifice in the Holy of Holies to Titus. He put himself in the place of God in the temple in Jerusalem. Here's what Titus had to say. And you find this from Philostratus. He wrote contemporaneously, and he said this, he quoted Titus. After Titus had taken Jerusalem, and when the country all around was filled with corpses, the neighboring races offered him a crown. But he disclaimed any such honor to himself, saying it was not himself that had accomplished this exploit, but had merely lent his arms to God, who had so manifested his wrath. This is one of the signs of the Antichrist, one of the signs of the abomination of desolation. And there is yet to be filled, because we know from both the writings of Paul, the man of sin, from the writings of John and Revelation, and from the words of Jesus, that there will yet be another Antichrist who will come, who will try to set himself up in the Holy of Holies. Here it is from Daniel chapter 8, verses 23 through 26. These are the signs of the Antichrist. And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors have reached their fullness, a king shall arise, having fierce features, who understands sinister schemes. His power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy fearfully, and shall prosper and thrive. He shall destroy the mighty, and also the holy people. Through his cunning he shall cause deceit to prosper under his rule, and he shall exalt himself in his heart. He shall destroy many in their prosperity. He shall even rise against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without human means. And the vision of the evenings and the mornings which was told is true. Therefore seal up the vision, for it refers to many days in the future. Now, Daniel here is quoting an angel, and that angel is giving him the keys.
Let's look at each one. A king shall arise. When you get the understanding, it's a king. It's an absolute ruler. And you can call them emperor, you can call him a Caesar, you can call him a Führer, you can call him a chairman, you can call him all kinds of things, but you've got to understand, he has absolute rule. When he makes a decree, it becomes the law of the land. Second, his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He'll have unusual things. The book of Revelation talks about he'll have the ability to give signs and wonders. He'll be so unusual in his power that even the elect can be deceived by what he's doing. So when you look at the Antichrists that have arisen, Titus said, well, I didn't destroy Jerusalem. I just lent my arms to God. You start to understand what's going on. The Führer said he was tapping into the Third Reich, the third millennial reign of the great German people. They always attribute that it's not their own power, they're tapping into some supernatural power. Third sign, he shall destroy fearfully, and then he shall destroy the mighty and also the holy people. Start understanding, what does the Antichrist go after? He always goes after the holy people. And whether that's Jews or Christians, he targets them and tries to wipe them out. He exalts himself in his own heart, and then he shall destroy many in their prosperity. So we see destruction fearfully, destroying the mighty, destroying the holy people, and destroying many in their prosperity. He brings poverty, he brings destruction, he brings genocide against the holy people. And the final clue, he shall even rise against the Prince of Princes. He exalts himself against the Messiah, against Jesus. He puts himself in the place of the Messiah, and that's the final sign. Where's the hope? He shall be broken without human means. When we understand that God himself will intervene, God himself will bring a resolution to the Antichrist, then we can rest secure knowing our future and our hope are with him. If you want more information about the seed of Satan, go to CBN.com and visit our special webpage about Pergamon. There you'll find extended interviews, crew blogs, and photo galleries, all on CBN.com.
Now is a good time to get a new HD TV, but did you know you need more than a cool TV to see true HD? 30% of the people watching on high-def television are not watching high-def programming. Why would they do that? Because you need an HD provider. Dish Network is the leader in high-def.
I'm gonna step up and check out Dish Network. Now get the biggest deal in entertainment for just $24.99 a month for a full year. Plus get your HD channels absolutely free for life.
Guess how much Dish Network charges you for HD?
50 bucks?
50 bucks? No, it's free. Free for life.
Free's better.
Free HD for life. How cool is that?
That is very cool.
I like free.
I can afford free.
Free for life.
Free for life.
Bring it.
Call today and you'll also get HBO, Cinemax, Showtime, and Starz free for 3 months. That's over 30 premium movie channels free. With Dish Network, HD is free for life.
Free!
Free.
Bam!
I think I gotta get some Dish Network.
Awesome. How do I sign up?
Gotta go with Dish.
I want Dish Network.
Let's watch TV.
With Dish Network, HD is free for life. Call and switch to Dish Network today.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. Campus Crusade for Christ has changed its name. Starting early next year, the ministry will simply be known as Cru. Ministry leaders say the word campus no longer adequately represents all of its ministries, and the word crusade carries negative associations that can be obstacles when sharing the gospel. Many people already use Cru as a popular nickname for the ministry. Campus Crusade says a lot of prayer and research went into the name change. Operation Blessing partnered with TOMS to distribute brand new shoes to children in China. TOMS is a company that donates a pair of shoes for every pair purchased. Teams were able to hand out shoes to more than 1,800 students at 4 different schools. Many of the students have to walk long distances over mountainous terrain. Their old shoes were either too big or too worn, And this was the first time that Tom's distributed shoes for Operation Blessing in China. Teams, though, plan to return next year to do the same. And you can find out more about Operation Blessing by going to its website at ob.org. Gordon and Terry will be back with more of the 700 Club after this.
When you look in the mirror, can you imagine erasing years of aging?
That's what I used to look like.
Lifestyle Lift takes only about an hour. See the difference immediately.
I'm Linda. I'm 70 years old. Can you believe it?
Call now for a free information kit. It's quick, affordable, and takes only about an hour. Lifestyle Lift, a breakthrough medical procedure that helps remove wrinkles, frown lines, and sagging skin. Call now for a free information kit. Consultations are free. Call Lifestyle Lift today.
If you're over 50, getting life insurance can be tough. How can you get the coverage you need at a price you can afford? I have good news. With AARP Level Benefit Term Life from New York Life Insurance Company, you can apply for up to $50,000 in affordable term life insurance without a medical exam. That's right. Your acceptance is based on your answers to 3 simple health questions, and most who apply are accepted. Underwritten by New York Life, this coverage is affordable and can be easy to get. And it's the only life insurance program endorsed by AARP. If you're an AARP member between 50 and 74, call New York Life now to receive free information by mail, plus a rate quote. Not an AARP member? We'll tell you how to join.
Call New York Life at 1-800-916-1773 for free information by mail. You'll also receive this free gift just for calling. That's 1-800-916-1773. Certificate benefits and limitations should be carefully examined prior to purchase.
Mary was a divorced mom in a desperate situation. When she lost her job, she had no way to feed her 2 children until she turned on the television and actually heard her name called out loud.
Mary lives in Makurdi, Nigeria, where she loves taking care of her 2 children. She wants to be sure they have a great future, but not long ago, she was stuck in an abusive marriage.
My husband had this temper that kept getting worse. And then he became very physical. His abuse became worse. And I wondered what was wrong. And I went into prayer and I discovered later that he was on hard substance.
Mary left home to keep her children safe. This led to a painful divorce. Soon after, she lost her job. The children were kicked out of school because Mary couldn't afford their tuition. They could barely afford food.
There was a period when I felt so alone. I was so discouraged. Everything looked bleak.
One day as she was watching television, the 700 Club came on. As Gordon Robertson prayed, Mary asked God for help with her finances. Then she heard something she could hardly believe.
He actually called my name and he said, Mary, there's somebody called Mary. And he just asked for a financial miracle. And God says to tell you that it has been released.
The woman, Mary, God has just heard your cry and is going to give you that fund now.
I actually cried. I called the children to the parlor and I told them God had remembered us, and I felt so good.
Within 1 week of that prayer, Mary got a call about a business opportunity and started selling computers to a local company. Soon the family's basic needs were met and the children went back to school.
Money just kept rolling in. I paid their fees, I paid my rent up front. Everything changed at that point. God came through.
Mary was so encouraged, she signed up to become a member of the 700 Club.
It's wonderful to be a part of his work this way. I would like to say a big thank you to 700 Club because they are reaching lives, they're touching people, they are changing hearts that are hurting and giving them hope. Thank you so much.
Being there for people like Mary, that's what we do, and we want to invite you to join with us. You know, when you join the 700 Club, you are reaching out to the entire world with the love of Jesus, being there for people who are in need and making a difference in the midst of their circumstances. Won't you join with us in touching people's lives with the love of Christ? It's 65 cents a day, $20 a month to join the 700 Club. But when you become a part of the 700 Club, you're joining with thousands of people who are saying, I can make a difference and I want to make a difference. It's so easy to join. If you'll just go to your phone and call that toll-free number that you see on your screen, it's 1-800-759-0700. Say, I want to join the 700 Club. We welcome you to the family of ministries here. And by the way, when you call, If you use something we call Pledge Express, it's electronic monthly giving. It means your bank does all the work. You don't have to have stamps or envelopes on hand. You don't have to remember anything. They do it for you. You can stop it whenever you want. But it saves us a lot of administrative costs, so we can put even more of your gift into the lives of people like Mary. So please call now. Make your best pledge as you join the 700 Club. And our way of thanking you for using Pledge Express is to send you Power for Life teachings. You'll get one of these a month, and we believe it'll really make a difference in your life. So call right now. Well, we've got some email questions as we round out the day. You
All
want
right.
this?
I do.
Coming ready or not. This is Dave, who says, I heard that the world is going to end on December 21st, 2012. Do you think this means the Antichrist is alive and well today?
Dave, let me give you two answers here. Number one, if you've heard the world will end on a certain day,
Yeah.
you can be certain that it will not end on that day. The reason is that Jesus said clearly, no man knows the hour or the day. So if you hear people say, I know the hour, I know the day, they're wrong. And just because they're announcing that, you can guarantee Jesus won't come back, because he's already said nobody knows. And he doesn't even know. Only the Father knows. So put out of your mind December 21st, 2012. It's not going to happen that day. Second part of this is, do you think the Antichrist is alive and well? I don't know if the Antichrist is alive and well. Certainly he has not manifested. There are forces at work that are specifically targeting the Jewish people again. And when you hear statements out of nations like Iran that they want to wipe out the Jews, that they consider them descended from pigs and apes, and that there is no right for Israel to exist, and they want to drive them into the sea. That is certainly a sign, but I haven't seen an absolute ruler, a king, come out of any one of those countries to really put some force into his words. So could he be alive today? Yeah. Has he manifested? No.
Okay, this is Katie, who says, what do you think about the theories that say the Antichrist was actually the Roman Emperor Nero?
Well, in accordance with what John said, there have been many Antichrists. And so he's writing that roughly around 95 AD. And he's already seen the destruction of Jerusalem. He's already seen Titus come through and kill 1.1 million Jews. The church in Jerusalem listened to the words of Jesus and evacuated and went into the mountains and fled Judea. And they waited the 3.5 years that Daniel prophesied, and then they came back and reoccupied. Was Nero a type? Yes, he required people to worship him. He required people to bow down to him and offer sacrifice. Was Titus a type of Antichrist? Yeah, he bought into that whole cult of the emperor. He was a general and he wiped out Jerusalem, but he later became an emperor. Domitian, that great persecution that John himself was caught up. That's why he was on the island of Patmos. He set up a cult of emperor, required people to worship him. So there have been many, and we need to look for the signs. I leave you these words from Jesus. Lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. God bless you.
Monday. He's the mind behind The Untouchables and Wag the Dog. Playwright David Mamet shares a page from his latest script. Plus,
He turned blue from the minute they cut the cord.
a newborn in a fight for his life
Well, there was nothing they could do for him.
becomes a medical miracle.
Even the doctors were shocked.
Next week on the 700 Club.
While Mary feeds her 2 young daughters, she also helps feed needy families around the world. While Bob hands a drink out to a coworker, he helps give water to villages with new wells. And while Carl builds a house for his son's new puppy, he helps rebuild homes in disaster areas.
These people all have something in common. They're CBN partners who have joined Pledge Express. I hope you'll consider joining Pledge Express too. It's a way to simplify your own life while speeding help to others, all at the same time. There are no checks to remember or stamps to buy, and your gift goes to work faster, helping those who need it most. So join us and change the world for someone today.